I messed up tonight. I lost another fight. I still mess up, but I'll just start again. I keep falling down. I keep on hitting the ground. I always get enough. See what's next. Birds don't just fly. They fall down and get up. Nobody learns without getting it wrong. I won't give up, no, I won't give in till I reach the end and then I'll start again. No, I won't leave. I wanna try everything. I wanna try even though I could fail.
And welcome back, everyone, to the Zootopia Minute podcast, where we review, analyze, and prophesize. A new word this time.
Ooh.
The hit award-winning movie that won the Academy Award, Zootopia, where everyone can sing Kumbaya. We are now at minute 24, where we begin with Nick saying, "Arrested for what?" and ends with Nick saying, "Those dreams die," and our little bunny sinks into an emotional and literal blank. I am your host, Choco, and I just came back from a furry convention, so we'll talk about that later.
But he's not a furry.
Yeah, I'm not a furry. Not furry. I'm joined with my co-host, Simul, who just had an amazing 22nd birthday, so...
I did. 22. Ew.
Okay, my ears are bleeding now.
Yeah. Well, we've got lots to talk about. You went to a furry convention, despite not being a furry, of course.
Yep.
Not a furry. No.
Not a furry.
And we've got a new minute to talk about. So let's jump into the minute right away. We pick up right where we left off, which is where Judy had discovered finally what exactly Nick and Toot Toot were up to. Toot Toot was revealed to actually be totally... I mean, he might be related to Nick, but probably not. Definitely not father and son.
All foxes are related.
Relationship. They are! Taxonomically, they're all related somewhere. They all have a common ancestor. There you go. Ugh, well, anyway... they're not father and son. That's the main point. And in actuality, they are working together.
Nice for assuming their family dynamics then.
They're working together to make some money. They're hustling. They're being deceptive, selling some popsicles, selling some wood to some mice to build their houses.
They are con artists, like I was at the furry convention.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah,
well,
we'll talk about that later.
We pick up right from there, and Judy is following Nick as Nick is being rather dismissive of her concerns. She attempts to arrest Nick, says, "You know what, you're under arrest," and starts to list off a few things as they're walking together that Nick could be arrested for, which include selling food without a permit, transporting commerce across borough lines without some sort of license, and false advertising, to which Nick very quickly responds by producing his permit to sell food and his license for commerce across borough lines, and claims to not have ever falsely advertised anything. My first and immediate question is, why do you need a permit to do commerce across borough lines? It's all within one city. Is that like emulating a real world thing?
Well, as an experienced con artist who actually just came back from a con, I actually like that Nick does that because it reminds me of myself. Because when I vend at a convention, especially a con with a daily artist alley like a furry con, you can't always sell anywhere you want.
Right.
You have to sell in certain parts of the hotel, and to sell, you must have your Texas sales permit on hand.
For
and
cons that are in Texas.
Permit.
Won't help you much in Washington to have a Texas permit.
You do have to pull up the permit right away, which is something I had to do. So that's it.
So someone actually came and asked to see your permit?
Oh yeah, they have to, because if you don't have a permit, you cannot legally vend in certain areas.
But it wasn't like a government person. It was just like con staff being like, can I see this?
Sometimes it's con staff, sometimes it's government people, but you have to be on your toes. This time it was just con staff, typical con staff work. So,
have you ever run into trouble with that kind of thing, or have you always had everything in order?
Well, I'm like Snick Nick. I have everything all nice, laminated, and ready to go.
Perfect. All right.
That's why I identify with Nick so much right now. Mm-hmm. You go.
Well, the thing
Nick.
that makes it interesting to me is when you're mentioning that, doing commerce between different states, that's one thing. But this is commerce across borough lines, like between the different segments of the city. Is that emulating, like, is New York
Actually,
like that?
I
New
think
York's
it
made up
does
of different
emulate New
boroughs.
York because New York is a unique situation. So I guess for international viewers and people, maybe Americans who don't know, most places in the United States, you have counties that are made up of a bunch of cities. New York is the exact opposite, in which New York is actually one giant city made up of 5 county equivalents, and these county equivalents are boroughs. So technically, it would be like there might be some laws on the book where something that you could sell in one county, you're not able to sell in other counties. In fact, in Texas, there are things where there are dry counties.
Dry
and there are
counties
wet
for
counties.
alcohol. That's right.
Yeah.
There's still some counties in the U.S. where alcohol is illegal to sell.
Exactly. So, for example, if you were taking a train through Texas and you were in places where if you're driving through a county where alcohol is illegal and all of a sudden you enter a county where alcohol is illegal, then you have to stop selling or consuming.
It's like
whatever.
if you're on an international flight and you're crossing Iraqi or anywhere with Sharia law, a country with Sharia law, you can't.
I like
serve
that you
alcohol
went
when you're in
straight
their
to Sharia.
airface. That's the immediate other equivalent thing I thought of. I don't know. But I've seen that in movies and TV. They're flying over some place in the Middle East, and they're like, "Sorry, we have to stop serving alcohol now. Sorry about that."
But yeah, if we want to go with that example, the closest equivalent where boroughs are considered kind of distinct entities within a city would be New York City, which is made up of technically 5 counties.
5 counties.
So that could be a close equivalent to this world. Of course, we don't know the history of this world, but we could assume that it's illegal because Judy brought it up, and she was top of her class in police academy, so I'm sure she knows the law to a T.
She's the valedictorian. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some other places where there's somewhat similar things going on, blurring the line between city and county. Some places have consolidated city counties where it's all the same thing. The city of San Francisco is both a county and a city, for instance. There's also
in Virginia.
independent. Yeah, Virginia and Maryland have what are called independent cities, where they are cities that are not part of any county. So if you look at a county map of Virginia, there's like a bunch of counties, but then there's these really obvious like dots that are way smaller than the other counties that are just like sometimes entirely surrounded by another county, by one other county, but it's technically a separate entity.
Yep.
The
and
city
one
of Baltimore
famous
is
example
also
was my
like that.
former hometown, Baltimore, where
exactly.
surprising Baltimore City is not part of Baltimore County. In fact, there have been fights between Baltimore City and Baltimore County over certain parks, including Robert E. Lee Park. So
I didn't know that little aspect of it, but yeah, I knew that was true because you've got the University of Maryland in Baltimore, and then you have University of Maryland Baltimore County, and like a few of the other ones, and they're like separate things. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting that way. And then there's places where you get cities that overlap between different counties, but it's not like the county is part of the city necessarily. There's some towns like that in Washington, Missouri City, Kansas City, Missouri. Although Kansas City is even weirder because it's a city that is sort of straddling state borders. So you have Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri.
You're somewhat correct with Missouri City because their airport call sign, they wanted to have KCI for Kansas City International, but you cannot use K for an airport call sign back when
right,
they
because
were
it's a prefix for the
Radio
western
stations.
half of the country. Yeah.
Yeah, so they had to use Missouri City International for their airport, which is...
That's interesting. So is the airport there like KMC or something? Or
No, it's MCI.
But with the K, which you would omit.
Yeah.
But it's like how LAX is actually KLAX or SeaTac is KSEA, but no one says the K part.
Afterwards, when they actually allowed Ks to be used, another city quickly took up KCI. I think it was like a city in Africa, so they couldn't even grab it.
Screw you, Kansas City. That's too bad. Yeah, it's interesting getting into those different aspects of government, municipal kind of things and how that must work. And to think about how that must work in Zootopia, where clearly you need some sort of license to go between the different biomes. Maybe it does have something to do with the fact that they are, in fact, entirely different climate zones, too. Who knows? Maybe if you're transporting goods that could spoil from a dry area to a humid area, you need to prove that you've stored them correctly so they're not just going to go bad.
Exactly.
Who knows? Who
Well,
knows? There's a lot of
going
details
back to our minute, we see them go across the street, and they are greeted with a giant herd of what look like wildebeest.
Yeah, suddenly you see them crossing the street, and on the other side is like a bunch of, looks like someone just copy and pasted the same animal over and over again. And
Man,
is it a
cheating
wildebeest?
animators.
I really can't tell. I don't know what kind of animal that is. Someone should tell us in the comments.
They look like goats at first, but I guess they could be wildebeest since wildebeest
They
like
look
to be in
woolly,
herds.
don't they? They look like they have matted wool or some sort of like curls or something. But they got those horns that look kind of like water buffalo horns. Mm-hmm. But they're all really skinny too. So
I think they are the same animals that trampled Mufasa in Lion King, which is getting a remake too.
Aren't all the Disney movies getting a remake?
Yeah,
that's what I hear. Like every movie.
I saw Beauty and the Beast.
The
but we'll talk
Beauty
about
and
that
the
later.
Beast just came out, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, because I'm a Disney Club member, I got free tickets for myself and one friend for the opening screening.
Nice.
And Beauty and the Beast is one of my favorite movies. I was so excited, but it's kind of a disappointment. But we'll not. We'll ignore that for now.
Maybe.
Going back to the street crossing, on their side, Nick and Judy's side, we saw a porcupine. So
We
another animal
did.
we add to our list.
And that porcupine was just kind of in the middle of the shot, but didn't seem to be significant to the scene. And it makes me wonder if the porcupine is only there because they haven't shown a porcupine yet and they want to show that they can animate a porcupine. Right?
Or maybe she's the red herring and will be the villain later in the movie. That's why I said we are prophesizing this episode.
That could be. You could be right there. Interesting.
All right, now let's continue back to Nick's little talk, because what's interesting is he calls Judy a hick.
That's
And
right.
Hick is a term normally reserved for Southern white folks. So,
She certainly is a Southern white person. That's without
gray
question.
person.
She's gray. She's not white. She's beige. Beige supremacy.
It is kind of
jeez.
going back and supporting that original theory most people have that the predators in this movie are minorities and the prey are supposed to be the white majority.
I mean, in terms of actuality, that's true because there's always less predators than there are prey in any ecosystem.
Similar dynamics to our current United States, where it's about 12% African American and the rest mostly white and a small sliver Latino, Asian. Actually, Latino actually considered white, same as Arabs.
Yeah, well, it's always interesting whenever you have anything that asks you to like check your race. Hispanic or Latino is always a thing you can check. Usually that's separate. Like it'll say white, black, Asian, Pacific Islander, something like that. But then the next question that will be separate will be whether you're Hispanic or not. You can like check that you're Pacific Islander, but then also you could check that you're Hispanic, as if it's something that can apply over top of anything else.
Actually, there's an explanation for that. It's because Hispanic just means you come from Spanish descent, so from a place that was formerly colonized by Spain. So, for example, let's say you're native Mexican, but you like intermix with the Spaniards, you could check Native American Hispanic, or if you come from, if you're from white Spanish descent, you check white Hispanic. If you're from, let's say, the Dominican Republic and from African descent, you could check African Hispanic. Or if you're from the Philippines, you could check Asian Hispanic. Hispanic is not like a race as we would like to think of it. It just simply means where the Spanish colonized and kind of interchanged genes
it's
with
interesting
the locals.
too, because then there's also the sort of nebulous distinction between Latino and Hispanic as well, and all that kind of things. And sometimes you'll see check boxes. There will be the checkbox specifically that says non-white Hispanic.
Yeah.
As opposed to white Hispanic. And I mean, we're on a bit of a tangent now, but I've always found that kind of interesting.
The Latino thing is actually a bit of a conundrum because they added Latino in because they want to include Portugal, people of Portuguese descent, specifically
Brazilians.
Brazil. But Portugal was not... There's also an argument because, for example, there's a Hispanic caucus in the United States, and there's one congressman who's from Portuguese descent, but they didn't allow him in until he showed them an old map of the Roman Empire and showed that both Portugal and Spain were part of a province known as Hispania. But before that, Latino was used to kind of include Portugal in and Brazil specifically into the mix for Latino Americans, specifically because Portugal Portugal and Spain have Latin roots. But that also adds a little bit of it's a little bit more complicated, because by that definition, technically Quebec is Latin American as well. So sometimes you actually see Quebec as Latin American. Some people don't include it, some places do. So it's a really, really nebulous definition. That's why they have to keep it as a separate check mark.
It's like, hey, French is a Romance language. All the same as Spanish. Anyway, that's a bit of a tangent there, but it certainly is interesting.
Yeah, Nick does call her Hick, which adds another layer to the movie. And then as he says that, we pass by some stores with some interesting punny titles, including Trader Joe's, Hoof Locker, and I couldn't make it out because they only appeared for a split second, but I think it's called Ramen Brahmin.
Ramen Brahmin, I think, and a Brahmin is like a type of cow or something. I don't even really know. It's like a thing. I've never heard of the animal in real life. I've only heard it referenced when people talk about the game Fallout, because apparently that's a thing.
The logo looks a lot like Betty Hanna's, so at first I was wondering if it was a play on Betty Hanna's, but I don't think so.
Perhaps.
And then I was trying to think about what the pun would be. It was like ram, because the beginning of ramen is spelled ram, but it's like it's a far stretch.
Yeah.
But the other ones are cute. Trader Joe's and Hooflocker.
Yeah, no shortage of the pun names as always. And this serves as a great backdrop to this monologue that Nick is giving, because that is what a lot of this minute is just a big long monologue from Nick, who's sort of being disparaging towards Judy, saying, you know, let me guess, you came from some little carrot-choked podunk way out in the boonies. And then the joke here is that Judy's like, no, I'm not from Podunk. Podunk is a real town that's in this other place. I'm from Bunnyborough. The joke being that, yeah, totally not a carrot-choked town there. It's funny to me, though, that Podunk is a real place. Like an actual place called Podunk exists in this world. Maybe
it's so bad it's used as a derogatory term.
Right. It's like the Timbuktu of this world. That's funny.
Yeah.
Podunk. So first, Nick claims that Judy must be from some tiny little town, which she responds saying, yeah, that's kind of true, but no. Well, Nick takes this and says, you know what, let me guess. You came here with the idea that you were going to be a cop. You're going to move to Zootopia, where predator and prey live together and sing Kumbaya. But then you find out, you know what, we don't all get along. And guess what, your dreams, they're not going to come true either. You're just a little meter maid. And
I think
it's all
that was
very
my
discouraging.
dad's favorite scene in the movie.
Really?
One of my dad's favorite.
Oh, man, I have to tell my friend, too, because I told my friend I was doing this Zootopia podcast, and she did not enjoy the movie at all. She's like, my favorite scene is the one where the fox just totally trashes the bunny's dreams and tells her that she's going to be a failure. Like, that was her favorite part, so I'll have to let her know to listen to this episode.
Wow.
That's perfect.
Sounds like a nice friend.
Yeah. Hi, Zoe.
If my mom was actually still alive, I think my mom would like that scene too, because growing up, that's all my mom talked about, because she grew up in a poor family, had to work her way up in the world as a female, as a minority, and she basically said, yeah, the world is not all hold hands and sing Kumbaya and all that BS. It's a world where you have to actually go there and work hard to achieve your dreams.
Right.
So if my mom saw this movie, she would like Nick's slow dialogue.
Yeah,
probably.
And so I think this is probably still a pretty important moment in the movie, because as Judy's being told this by Nick, her expression changes. Her face kind of drops a bit. Her ears droop a little, as if maybe this really is impacting her, what Nick is saying. That she came into Zootopia full of optimism, right? She was so ready to make the world a better place. That's what she's wanted to do since she was a little kid. But now that sort of, you know, it's sort of naive,
childlike
right?
innocence.
Her naivete that she's retained since childhood, since living far away from the big city, all of those preconceived notions of what big city living is like, they're being shattered. She's being confronted with the reality of what Zootopia really is like. And so I think that probably resonates with a lot of people our age as well, because I think part of this story is a coming-of-age story. She's having to deal with the harsh truth, you know? So I remember when I first saw this movie, I thought I could relate to her a little bit. You have these aspirations and you find out, oh, this is actually hard. You know, putting some effort in, things aren't always going to be like exactly what you expect. So I think that definitely impacted perhaps some of the younger audience and maybe some of the older audience as well that had gone through this type of epiphany at an earlier stage in their life as well.
Yeah, it's I think that's kind of the it's not midlife, it's quarter life crisis. It's normally when someone just comes out of college, all bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, thinking, you know, I could make a change in this world. I'm going to be that change, and all of a sudden realize, nope, sorry.
Yeah, it's a lot harder than it seems.
Our minute ends when Nick says, "And those dreams die, and our little bunny sinks into an emotional and literal blank."
Yeah, those dreams die, and our little bunny sinks into an emotional and literal something.
Wow,
really
he's
want to
really
know
rubbing
what
the
he's
wounds in.
saying. Yeah, no kidding.
I'm sure he would be great on Twitter attacking people.
Yeah, so we're continuing our wonderful trend of ending the minutes, cutting off mid-sentence, and leaving us to guess what on earth is going to be said next. Seems to happen a lot. But we'll have to wait till the next minute, as will you. But, Choco, I really want to hear all about your time at this furry convention.
All right. Again, I'm not a furry, but let's talk about the furry con I went to.
So what was the name of this convention, and where was it?
It was called Furry Fiesta, and it takes place in Dallas, Texas. In fact, this has been my second time at Furry Fiesta. I was living in Dallas last year. It was a local con for me, so I decided to check it out. And overall, this is my third furry convention, so I'm still kind of a noob to the going-ons of fur cons and stuff. My only experience has been that brilliant CSI episode that talked about fur cons, you know?
Oh, yeah, that perfectly representational
I know,
CSI episode. Yeah.
Exactly.
Not biased at all, a really accurate representation.
No, exactly. I mean, I was waiting for the pylon party. But anyways, so if you guys don't know, my current day job is a con artist. Though not like the con artist that Nick is. I'm a convention artist. I sell my art and wares at different conventions. My big cons I go to are normally pony conventions, anime conventions, sci-fi conventions, and comic conventions. But since there's crossover between My Little Pony fans and furries, I decided to be checking out a little bit more. Especially since the Furry Fiesta is run by a lot of the same people who run Nightmare Nights, which is the Dallas Pony Convention. So it was very, very interesting. There's a lot of fursuiters, a lot of fans of Zootopia. I handed out a lot of business cards, so I think we went through a big pile of business cards. And I did see some Zootopia cosplays. In fact, I saw my fox husband, Nick, in his spiffy little police uniform. Very, very nice.
Very nice.
And I also cosplayed as Nick. I didn't go the full furry mode. I just wore a Nick beanie, a tail, and a police uniform, which was modified from my old academy uniform. So that was pretty fun.
So not a fursuit, but
yeah, not a fursuit.
A nice little costume.
I'm not a furry, so I wouldn't own a fursuit, you know.
Yeah, no, of course not. But I mean, yeah. I'm not a furry either, but I do admit those things look fun.
Yeah,
those look fun. They look cozy.
They
probably
look
not
hot.
Cozy. They're probably really uncomfortable. Actually.
One thing I will say is, so compared to other types of conventions I've been to, even more than pony conventions, furry cons seem to be a little bit more friendly. Like Nick saying that, you know, Zootopia is not a place where people hold hands and sing Kumbaya. That's kind of what this furry con was like, because everyone was very, very huggy, and some of them didn't know the term personal space, because I would sometimes get hugged by random people, but they were very, very nice and friendly. A little awkward, but friendly. It's like you see these, at every con, you're going to see otaku, fanboys, bronies, kind. Some are awkward, some are not, but some are very energetic. But it's the typical con scene. Sure. But I will say I enjoyed it. It was a very, very fun con.
Par for the course. Mm-hmm. Now, tell me about, because I heard little bits and pieces of this. You had a poster of Rainbow Dash that caused some sort of kerfuffle as well.
I believed I caused a brony furry civil war, which for some reason degraded into an alt-right anti-fascist war.
Because why not?
Okay, so
what happened there?
So, a con I vented at earlier this year is Pacific PonyCon. It's a convention, and it's a pony convention, San Diego, which you probably heard about in the previous episode, that's run by military bronies. It's stationed right by the Naval Base and Marine Corps Base. So, to make up some nice prints for the military bronies, I had a print of Rainbow Dash in front of camel background, and the text under says, "Come and take them." So it's a play on the Texas Revolution flag with cannon that says, "Come and take them." So this is supposed to be all lighthearted fun for friends. It's because it's all, you have a pony saying "come and take them." It
seems
cute.
Completely innocuous to me. Yeah.
Yes, it might be cringy for people out of the fandom, but for people in the fandom, people really like that. There's a reason some people like wearing Rainbow Dash hats in public, because that's the type of people they are. And you might think it might be weird or cringy, but for them, it's completely acceptable. They already are throwing away all social norms because they're watching a show for, you know, that's supposed to be made for little girls. So I had this print for a few cons already. And one furry took a picture of this, tweeted it. I think the original tweet was actually more a dig at Texas. They said, man, Texas is wild. And within
I think I saw that
12
tweet.
hours, it got over 33,000 views, over 600 likes, and 500 retweets. And the comments started with a lot of furries, first of all, saying, oh, I just moved to Texas by moving out. Oh, I can't believe I opened this. Oh, cringe, all that stuff. So first it started was furries attacking Texas. Then it quickly shifted to furries attacking bronies for some reason. And of course,
you said furries attacking Texas, and I'm picturing like the Alamo, but with a bunch of furries invading.
Yeah. Of course, it's not to say all furries are obviously doing this. It's always, with any group of people, you always find weird fringes that, especially on the online sites like Tumblr and Twitter, this stuff is going to happen. But that drew in the bronies, because bronies are used to being attacked because, oh, these are people who like a girl show and blah, blah, blah. So the bronies started stepping up to the plate. But then I think, sad, but because of these situations, it started to attract what's called the alt-right bronies, or the alt bronies, which is a group that I do not like, I do not associate myself with, and I am against their crazy beliefs. But if you've seen Purple Tinker, for example, she's the founder of BronyCon. She's been harassed by these folks. These are not very nice folks. But these are people, I'm not sure how many of them are trolls or how many of them are sincere.
Right. It's Poe's Law, right? You're not sure whether it's satire, if they're being sincere.
So if people don't know Poe's Law, you don't, so if you are a complete parody of a group of people like Scientologists or creationists, it's very, very hard to tell who is actually faking it and who is actually sincere in that belief.
Yeah.
But you have all of a sudden a bunch of alt-right bronies and alt-right furries that started joining the mix, and they started attacking each other. And then all of a sudden there's like these weird groups that all of a sudden just started conflicting with each other, and then eventually shifted to just regular alt-right people started joining, and then anti-fascists started joining. But then the comments are so contradictory. For example, one girl who called herself anti-fascist girl or something like that, I don't remember her username, but she had like an anti-fascist symbol, and she said her username said something anti-fascist. Her comment was, I wish we could put all bronies in an oven. I'm like...
Says the anti-fascist. All right.
Yeah, I'm like, isn't that what the fascists did?
To be perfectly honest, that sounds pretty much in line with other things I've heard people that call themselves anti-fascists say. So... And then
a woman who... And then, I don't know if it was a woman or a man, but someone who called themselves very, very pro-feminist then said, you know, if Hasbro had a spine, they would do something about this, but they make a little girls show, so they don't have a spine. And
What
I'm like,
on earth?
now isn't that the most sexist, misogynist thing?
Well,
it's coming from someone who claims to be a feminist.
Yeah, that sounds like Twitter. We're just describing Twitter at this point.
Yeah, and then and then for some reason, all of a sudden, pro-Confederate flag people started joining in the mix, and they were attacking it. They were like,
just
burn
when you
this
thought
flag
it couldn't
down,
get
burn
any
this flag down.
crazier.
I'm like, weren't you offended that people were burning the Confederate flag? Now you're okay with, it's not even a flag, it's a wall scroll, but you're okay with people burning what you think is a flag?
Did it? All right, Choco, here's my
Yeah.
question for you to wrap things up. Did it at least help with your sales at all?
Actually, I would say I did not sell any of the wall scroll specifically. But it brought a lot of people to the booth saying, hey, I saw this wall scroll on Twitter, and they wanted to buy, I guess, a badge or a button of it. So I did sell some badges or buttons of it. And in fact, afterwards, because I had so much people coming to my booth because of this tweet, I kind of tried to contact the original poster, because I thought, I don't know whether this person posted it out of anger or jest. I assumed it was lighthearted, but apparently they looked like they got upset because all the bronies started attacking them. So I guess they completely ignore all the furries attacking and only concentrate on the bronies attacking. And I tried to DM them saying, oh, if you're still at the con, stop by my booth, I have a little gift for you. And the person replied back, no, I don't want to accept any gifts from you because it will mean I associate with your beliefs. Yeah, I'm like, whoa. First of all, you don't even know my beliefs and stuff.
Intense.
Yeah, so then I thought, okay, is this person an alt-right furry? Because based on their comments, they seem to be an alt-right furry. So I was like, so are you one of those pro-Trump alt-right furries? I mean, I said, I'm okay if you are, but I didn't see any malice in your original tweet, but the people who are commenting are now saying racist things towards me and kind of attacking. In fact, that morning I had someone come to my booth, said, I want to run over all Asians or something like that. So I kind of told them this, like, and they were like, oh, no, I'm not pro-Trump. I'm anti-Trump, in fact. So it was kind of weird back and forth. I was saying, okay, well, I know you didn't mean to be rude, but, you know, that So it just got into a weird discussion with this person, and afterwards I'm just going to ignore this person. But yeah, at first I thought they posted it humorously, because all my brony friends who saw it online or were at the con started mentioning this tweet in a jesting fashion, like it was something funny, while it seemed like the furries saw it as a weird attack on them, even though it's a brony thing. So I don't even know. I didn't want to cause this, but somehow I caused a war between furries and bronies, which became an anti-Texas fight, which eventually became an anti-fascist alt-right fight. So
wow. Well, yeah. That's impressive. I don't think we could have a better note on which to end the podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that just about does it for this episode of Zootopia Minute. We were going to do a mailbag. Ran a little bit short on time, so we are going to do a mailbag next episode. We've already got some awesome letters from some of you guys. We really appreciate hearing from you. So if you would like to send us anything, you can send that to zootopiaminute@gmail.com. And of course, as always, you can also follow us on Twitter @Zootopia Minute. Make sure to like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We love that you guys are listening. We love that you guys are enjoying the show, and we appreciate it when you help us spread the word. So be sure to tune in next time for Zootopia Minute as well. But for now, that's it from us. We hope you guys have an awesome week.
And we hope you don't start any civil wars out there.
Yeah, please no. All right, guys, take it easy.